say something now.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Loud and clear. Let me turn down my stream reader's volume here, gang. Still gonna keep running it. I'm just gonna turn the sound off. But as always, guys, everyone's free to present topics for the discussion. I'm gonna turn the floor over to Karis, who's been co-host from the start with this. And Karis, I know you got a topic that's very important to you, so we'll start there and then
Yeah.
work our way around.
You've got a number of viewers, which is good. So let me just state for the record one more time that the primary reason I'm here every time Top Monitor gives a podcast is exactly for the reason he stated. I try to do, a certain percentage of the talking so that he doesn't have to, because it does sort of wear on him. So that's my primary purpose, is just to help the guy out, because Toth Monra, as many of you know, is passionate about the game and does what he can to try to make sure it survives. So I am happy, as always, to try to help out with that. Okay, with that as an introduction, I do have a topic to bring up to start off with, one that I'm kind of passionate about, and that is the infiltration mechanic of the live event. The quest, which when you take it, takes you to the enemy city and you have to accomplish a number of goals. Okay, for background, the first time this event came up last year, I was still doing Realm Watch. And the infiltration quest, as they existed last year, was one of the greatest things that this server had ever done in a long time to make the server fun. It was, one, doing Realm Watch, going to the cities and watching the enemy infiltrate and go in and cause all kinds of havoc. It was great. It was great viewership. It was great for the viewers. It was a lot of fun. And then when you got back on the ground and got part of a group that went to the city to do some raiding, it was one of the most fun aspects, one of the mechanics, one of the most fun mechanics ever introduced to the server. And for the last year solid, I have been talking about it on and off. I have been promoting this event. Next time Night of Murder comes around, next time they do this infiltration event, it's really fun. It's really worth your time. And it finally gets here. And what happens? Everything that made the infiltration quest fun has been gutted from the quest. You can't go in as a group. You can't attack anyone. If you get spotted and flagged for RVR and someone attacks you, you're not even allowed to fight back. Okay, you're not even allowed to fight back. If you get flagged for RVR and a member of the opposition attacks you, you just have to stand there or try to run. Okay, that makes absolutely no sense to me as to why they would do that. The question was brought up on the Return of Reckoning official forums, and someone asked about that. One guy says it's honestly Omega cringe that we can't attack people during this quest to go to the enemy city. Ekalime responded, the purpose of an infiltration quest is not to attack or be seen. Okay. For those of us who've actually been on an infiltration mission, who've actually infiltrated through the lines to go set up, to do a recon, to set up an ambush, to do whatever it is your orders are, is to infiltrate through a piece of terrain to another piece of terrain. We did not leave our weapons behind. We did not say, okay, this is an infiltration mission, guys, so leave all your weapons and ammo here. We're not going to need them. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, that is not how it works. Yes, if you're on an infiltration mission, and you're trying to steal something, you want to do everything you can not to be seen. But if you are seen, you have to have the means to defend yourself. And to gut that from this quest is just patently ridiculous. And it falls under the category, to me, it falls under the category of just sucking all the life out of everything. Why? Why? Why take something that was that much fun? Why take something that, for a solid year, people have been talking about it. They waiting for this to come back around. And when it comes back around, everything that made it fun is gone. Um, I don't get it. I just don't. And I asked about it on the official Return of Reckoning Discord page, and I got the standard crappy answer. That seems to be part and parcel with any question you bring up. And so there. That's my first point. I don't understand why you would take an event that was so exciting and just gut it like that.
I can understand that because last year a lot of people had fun with it, being able to fight in the opposing city. So for that, if that's been removed, that kills the drive of even doing it.
Well, yeah, now that's the only thing. Is can I get in and out? And another comment that was made on the Return of Reckoning page. Hang on, real quick. Let me see. I mean, somebody was asking about the fact as to why, why you're not even allowed to fight back. If they wanted to introduce that mechanic, that you're not allowed to fight back, then the only way to make that, make any sense, make even the slightest amount of sense, is that if you take the quest individually to go through the enemy city, then you're invisible. Just like witch elves and witch hunters can be invisible. When you first get there, you cannot be seen by the opposing players. The only thing that can see you in the opposing city would be the champion NPCs that flag you for RVR. And then, and the instant you're flagged for RVR, then you also become visible. Okay, that would make sense, but that's not the way it is. You go to the enemy city now, and you've got half a dozen up to, you've got at least half a dozen guys standing around the point where you come out the doors, and they crowd all around you on their mounts so that you have a hard time seeing where the NPCs are, and they just wait for you to get flagged. That's great stuff, guys. I mean, that is really, that is really cutting edge, right? When it comes to an MMO game, that is really cutting edge. So, I'm at a loss with this one. And, Tosh says I didn't do that murder event. They won't do this one, but I assume it was hanged. Because all things, it turned into just farming people instead of doing the quest. But people taking advantage of a mechanic in the attempt to try to farm someone is just endemic of this game and this server. There's always going to be someone. There is always going to be someone that's going to try to come up with a means to exploit whatever's going on to the detriment of someone else. That's just the nature of the server, okay? And I think the answer to that is not to punish everybody because, okay, somebody might be gonna have a group that runs around the city just trying to farm people. Therefore, we're not going to let anybody do it. We're not going to let anybody have any fun. We're just going to suck all the life out of it and make sure that if you do the quest, and you screw up one time, you're not even allowed to defend yourself. And again, when I was doing Realm Watch, last year. Uh, that was that particular Realm Watch where people were going, Destro especially. Destro went into outdoor for a couple times, and there were huge fights, massive fights. I covered them. I was flying overhead when that was going on, and it was just a blast because word would go out. Okay, Destro has invaded the inevitable city. Word would go out and chat, and everybody would leave whatever they were doing out in the lakes and fly to the city to fight back. It was great stuff. I mean, it was just great stuff. And when you were part of a raiding team to go to the other city and run around and see how long you could last, it was fun. And now all that fun is just, gone. It was epic. Emissary says it was epic. I would say one of the things I always remembered is the Zerg fighting in the city during the event. The Des have allowed people to be toxic for too long. Now it is too late to do something about it. That's Altheon. Emissary says again, trying to listen for the next few minutes. Wife says she wants me to take her to lunch in a few, so I will leave soon. Thank you for having these podcasts. Emissary, try this. Your wife wants you to take you to lunch. Try this. Tell her that I said this. Tell her I said, the sun will come out tomorrow.
Oh, Lord.
I thought I would throw a joke in there.
And as far what you're saying with the event and stuff, and I remember the fights from last year because I saw a lot of them as I was working on quest guides and stuff. This is one of those times where I think, well, not think, I know the devs messed up. They shouldn't have took that out. If anything, that was something people were looking forward to. An impromptu version of city that could be a little more natural, and all it does is send a signal to the server that those that were looking forward to having fun, okay, well, great, now you're not going to have it. Yeah, unfortunately, one side of the community is what's triggered this to come about, but honestly, it would have been better had they just left it alone and left it as it was last year, not ripped the guts out of it and made it to where it's not enjoyable, because now people are they're either not gonna want to mess with it, or they're gonna find a way to just sit and do nothing, or body block people to get them killed so they can figure out a way to get free renown out of it.
Well, that's exactly what's going on at the moment. Is I was streaming for a little bit last night, but the numbers yesterday were so low that I eventually got bored. I mean, you were there. The numbers were so low yesterday on the first day of Twitch drops that I eventually got bored and just logged off. But I went back in the game later, and I wanted to do the quest. I wanted to do the infiltration quest. And that's exactly what was going on. You come out the door, and there's a horde of Destro guys standing around just waiting for you to get flagged. And anytime you move, they would get in front of you and try to block your view of where the NPCs are tracking, right? Because there's a pattern to the NPCs, of course.
Yeah.
And once you figure out the pattern, the quests are fairly easy to do, unless you've got half a dozen guys on horses following you everywhere you go. And then you get flagged, and
hold on, head break.
Oh, all right.
You're not wrong. They should have left it alone. I don't know why they change it. It's just not one of their better ideas.
Well, Let me know when we're back.
Got about 40 seconds. And we're back. Chat.
Yeah. Give me all right, that's 12 minutes. Give me a few minutes to wrap this up.
No.
You there?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we back?
Yeah.
All right. But then my final word on my final word on this particular aspect that we're just that the first point of discussion here, the live event infiltration quest is, I mean, it is just especially for me personally, and there has to be other people who feel this way, but damn, you know,
Like which?
this quest, sorry, but this quest, the infiltration aspect of it, when it was up last year, that was some of the most fun I'd had playing the game. Now, not that the game. I mean, the game was still fun. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just talking about on a scale, right, of fun things to do in the game. The infiltration aspect of the event last year was just, it was off the charts. It was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing they've ever done. And so I've talked about it on and off. Like I said, I've talked about it on and off all year long. And now it finally rolls around again. And for whatever reason, the powers that be have just gutted the whole thing. And Random says, I agree with you. The large scale fighting was hilarious in the city and added much needed fun to the game. That's true. And I appreciate the comment. Random, I appreciate the comment. I do, because I've been pushing this event. Like I said, on and off, I've been talking about this event for an entire year. And it is such a cosmic disappointment for it to roll back around in this particular form. And all right, so I've said my bit. If somebody else wants to talk about it, well, Tosh says unless you didn't enjoy large scale fighting, well, you can't. You can't please everybody all the time. And see, here's the binary on that. When you introduce something into the game, when you introduce a mechanic into the game that either involves or at the very least engenders, promotes large scale fighting, everybody who enjoys that will go. For those who don't, the solution is simple. They just don't. They just, they go do something else. Now that makes far more sense to me than saying, okay, all you guys who really enjoyed the large scale aspect of this live event, forget you, you know, forget you. And we're gonna nullify the whole bit, and nobody's gonna get to do it. Nobody's gonna get to do it. So if you really enjoyed it, too bad for you. We're gonna, and that that just I don't get it, man. I just don't. I don't understand the thinking. Uh, I don't understand the thinking that went into that. And again, this justification offered up on the Return to Reckoning Discord that infiltration is the purpose of infiltration is to not be seen. And if you are seen, you're not allowed to fight back. There is no basis in reality for that at all. None. Okay, absolutely. It makes absolutely no sense. Uh,
That's true.
all right. Okay. Um, I have 7 minutes, and then, like I said, I have to run my son to work. Now, I will be, like I said, it won't take me that long. I will be back.
Oh,
But
worries.
but if there's another topic,
There's a couple of things.
I know the whole choppa thing. You and I were talking about that last night.
Yeah,
And and the it's like all the rampage get to the choppa chatter that went on that has gone on here for what years now. Get to the
yeah.
choppa rampage. Get to the choppa rampage. Okay, they finally addressed that issue. They gutted Slayers and Rampage, and Get to the Choppa now is twice as effective as it was before. Is that is that a good way to put it?
Pretty much. I mean, it's literally they swung the Durf bat like, okay, order, you're not gonna do anything now except die, and that's pretty much played out the last couple of days. I mean, I agree. Slayer Rampage needed to be toned down. I don't disagree, but they went way too far with it. Down 20% to 20%. I'm like, are you, so you just want to hand one side complete control is literally what they've done. At least until Order can figure out some way to counter it. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. My chat earlier was kind of 50-50 on that discussion, and people were very adamant about it that they just went way too far. They buffed Destro and swung the Nerf bat and basically removed Order off the board. And I hate to say it, but this is where the balance team and people on that balance team allowed their personal dislikes to come into play rather than making actual legitimate judgment calls. I'm not saying to rely on one ability, and that's true, but to gut the one class that we had for countering Destro's melee choppa ball effectively, and it wasn't just Slayers that got the Nerf bats swung at them.
Well, Tosh says I saw no reason to change Slayer, uh, as we spoke about the role each class plays in their group, and I mean that I agree with. I think Tosh is right. I didn't given the state of the game prior to this change. I thought this now I'm speaking for myself, but I thought that the whole Slayer Rampage Get to the Choppa thing was pretty well balanced out. And but now yesterday when I logged in, I logged in and was doing some scenarios, and it was like there was only one tactic that Destruction was playing in the scenarios, and that was as soon as the scenario began, they just came charging across the map, not paying attention to anything else, and running straight in. The charge straight ahead tactic. And I thought I haven't seen this in a while. I haven't seen this since cities were first released. And when cities were first released, that was the tactic that Destro was using at first, was just charge straight in, and it was happening again. And I wondered why. Then you came on and told me, well, Slayers have been eviscerated, right? They've been emasculated, all that other stuff, and Choppa channels are now, they've given them basically a BFG 9000 to go into battle with, and For those of you who get the BFG 9000 reference, okay, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what it is. The instant I win.
Doom, that's right. All right. I apologize, Toth, but like I said, I've got to run my son to work.
It's fine. I'll see you when you get back.
I'll get back as soon as I can. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Later. The guy that was just speaking, Chang, is Karis. He plays NA. I used to play NA. I still do sometimes. But I've also heard the same argument out of people that play EU times too. I had a rather large number of EU players here earlier that were sharing their thoughts on this very subject. And they're not oblivious. Everybody has their viewpoints of where they stand on this, and just the one thing that a lot, or at least some have shared, is that they feel it was too much was done to the Slayer. Not saying it didn't need to be toned down, they just went too far with it. He plays a sword master. He doesn't play a Slayer. He's just giving his observation based on things he's seen over the years on the server, and he's been here quite a long time. I might have to stick to SCs because there isn't a warband for me to join really that's responding. I've seen both sides charging, but what the point was that we were originally discussing was that Destro is relying heavily right now on their melee choppa ball, even more so than what they were, and it's all but unstoppable for order. At least from what I've seen so far, I've yet to see anyone effectively stop it cold. I've seen people try to slow it down. I've not seen anyone actually derail it. Not even some of the pre-mades. You free to argue your point, but I'm telling you what I've seen. Okay, that's again, you're speaking from your end of things, and I'm speaking from mine, and I get around on this server quite a bit, both NA and EU times. But there were plenty of people earlier that were very passionate about it, and even some Destro players that have played Slayers made the comment that they went too far with it, and then some were like, well, it'd be nice just to see him take, and this came from one person that was a Destro main that wanted to see the pull removed and rampage removed, and I had brought up the fact that some time ago I had a podcast where that got discussed by some top end choppas from Destro and top end slayers from Order. It had a full on, almost 4 hour discussion about it, pros and cons, before I sent it to the devs. I mean, what you're saying that Order can stop it? So what? How does Order go about that? I would like to hear your thought process on how we're supposed to effectively stop it. And I'm not saying that trying to shut you down. I'm legitimately curious. Because for 4 hours this morning, Gruffrip and his crew annihilated anything Order could throw at them, and at least one Order pre-made I know of formed up, tried to square off against them 1-on-1, and they couldn't make a dent in that choppa ball. He just simply run them over. I believe the ID effect choppa gets is like Rampage, and that it can be removed. I believe that it is that. I believe that is the argument. Well, as it stands right now, Tosh, most of the times when I've run into the melee choppa ball, like you can go back and watch my VOD, see for yourself. That'll explain it far better than anything I can say. It's just instant death. Like even geared tanks, no matter what we would try, we instantly die as soon as they show up on mass. We're toast. I mean, it was bad before, but now it's just we can't even get near them. I know some are suggesting maybe do a range group, something to try to pull that warband, pull the choppa ball apart. One person said maybe we should try to bring back a slayer, try to form a slayer version of it and see what we can do. So there's ideas being put on the table by some of the warbands, but till I see something for myself that's effective, I mean, I can only go off of what I'm hearing people relay. As far as what I've seen, I have not seen anything work yet. I may have to restart my game after this because I'm getting visual stuff. I don't have a problem. I mean, if things are gonna be like this from here on out, so be it. We just have to figure a new way to play. That's all there is to it. I said that earlier. I stand by that. I just think I honestly feel they just went too far with the change to the Slayer and some of the other classes. Now, does that mean what I said is the correct answer or the idea that they should follow? No. It's kind of like with what they did to the event. Wasn't, in my opinion, I don't think it was a good idea, and Karis certainly doesn't think so. And there's a good many others that share that thought process. Why punish everyone for the actions of a few? Can't kill him anyway, so. Yeah, we're back. But again, I mean, what a legitimate question to you guys in chat, to all of you listening. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, I know some are gonna be the diehard, and I've heard some of the comments earlier about, well, Order had it coming. Legitimately, do you think things are in a good place with those classes, considering some of what's going on right now? By all means, Dagger, the floor's open. It's not restricted to just what I'm saying. Anyone can share their viewpoint. Gotta love the war camp farms. Sorry. I'll give you a minute to type out your response there, Dagger. That's true, Tosh. A lot of the convos I've heard so far has been leaned heavily towards going with ranged heavy uh, war bands and just back it up with do your shield walls, but have mainly uh, main tongue tied here. Use your tanks to try and absorb the initial onslaught, slow them down, but then use range to knock them down. Or at least that's what I've heard people say. So a lot of some war bands are kind of rethinking how they run things to basically exclude slayers, or at least not rely on them like they used to. They'll still run with them. They just won't rely on them. And yeah, you can Dagger, if you want to pop in Discord, you can. It should be exclamation Discord. Get you the link, and then I'll give you access and pull you in the channel. Just do remember it is PG 13, so and you should just be able to join the general channel, and I can pull you in. Pulling you in now. You're on the air only.
Thanks for the invite.
Welcome on.
I didn't manage to catch the stream very early on, like around 30 minutes ago was when I started listening properly. And yeah, I heard lots of things about the Rampage conversation and the recent paths, and I'd like to give my 2 cents about it as a Destro only player.
Fire away.
And Middle Creek Herder main. Let me start not with Slayer, which I assume is the hot topic, but rather
It's
with
actually,
choppa.
it's actually all of the above, not just Slayer.
Mhm. So I will start with choppa. Choppa, let's say, was considered strong before because in warband, the warband meta, or rather in blob v blob meta, is get to that choppa effectively punished any retreating or wrong formation, which is of course not uncommon, especially if you're in the Pag Warband scenario. Uh, while after the December 9th patch, the new ability rework, as many would remember, the effective range of Gitu that Sopa was pretty much gutted. It was decreased by like 25% of the area or something like along those lines. Uh, since that moment, like if I assume Utolf and most of other players from Order side weren't as vocal about it, uh, since it was effectively nerfed Not to the ground, still usable. Many choppas still used it prior to this update, but pretty much uh, not a threat, let's say. And in the recent patch, we see two major, let's say, changes to choppa. One change regarding Get to that choppa is not a utility buff to bring it towards its previous usage, but rather a big damage buff. And I say it's big because if you check the numbers, the ability modifier or multiplier for the strength of the choppa was like heavily increased. I've had a few choppas in the guild actually say that yeah, the damage on getting that choppa is now crazy, and they were only like displeased about it because not of the damage, but because they didn't even like they did not want to use it as a CC tool. They did not want it to like give free immunities. They were saying that's great damage. I don't want any more immunities. Take it away. I want it as an AOE. uh, which indicates something. Leaving Gerudo Tsoba aside, we also see a rather big change to Tsoba 2, and that is the addition of the new ability. Don't remember exactly the name, but for players who had played Milsku Herder before the December 9th update, you will notice that it's very similar to Old Bad Gas, basically an AoE around you, only it does more damage, and it does not have the 1 second charge time, which was the biggest drawback for Bad Gas, since you could be set back all the time. So, if we examine Tsopa in, as you were saying before, blob v blob scenario, or rather massive fight, where immunities don't really matter in the front line. Like, true, you could punt away the tanks and stuff like that, but when the fight lasts for 20 seconds, you'd rather do as much damage as possible instead of individual suicides. There they have access to two better tools compared to before. Get to that Sopa is doing great damage, and the new ability they've got is like effectively another, let's say, charge on top of that. So the Sopa AoE damage has skyrocketed to the point where, as also Squeak Herder main, think that melee Squeak Herders are like not comparable anymore with Sopas. The AoE damage by Sopas right now should be like, and you've probably noticed it, especially since you're facing them, compared to me just playing with them, should be significantly higher.
Yeah.
That is a point. Like, in my opinion, I could see it getting nerfed, not to the ground, but very much so in the next patches. Like, if I were to guess,
Go ahead.
I believe the new ability will get nerfed by a lot. And I believe that Get to that Sopa will get some change. Not sure if it will be a more shift towards utility. Or... sorry. It was a fight, yeah. Or if it will be a change towards damage. To like disregard utility at all and leave it as it is on damage side. But I believe, I predict like big changes coming to that Sopa. Because you, I assume you know that the DPS plus update, balance update, has not actually happened. What we've seen so far.
I know it's on. I know it's on the drawing board. I know it hasn't been implemented yet, but the thing is, I don't want the choppa nerfed into the ground any more than I want the Slayer or any other class. I'm just saying, reevaluate how much they took from the Slayer, even it out to where it makes it competitive on both sides. Because right now, I mean, all day it's just been the Destro juggernaut. Sure, we had one fight where we semi won, but I don't consider a legit win for one simple reason, is because I know that a Destro warband logged over to order just enough to tip the balance, and then went right back to Destro.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. Well,
Oh, they were chatting about it. They're not very good at keeping their mouth shut about it. I mean, they just don't care.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
can understand that.
the point is that at the moment, I have not seen. For me, this is just
Mhm.
my own opinion. I have not seen anything effectively be able to stand up to the choppa melee ball so far, even in
Yeah.
small scale. As soon as they come in, we're dead. I mean, our full
So,
sovereign geared warlord, all that,
mhm.
nothing stands up to it. Our healers can't. They can pre-roll hots, everything. It does no good. It's instant. I win.
So let me talk about this, right? Because the problem is there. I have seen it. I'm not blind. I'm not lying to like trick people into thinking that hey, the situation is right. Because at the moment it isn't. That let me say what I believe about why the situation is problematic right now. So, oh, we have a fight. Sorry. So it's twofold. First, let me talk about Slayers. The thing about old Rampades compared to new Rampades is that the old Rampades was effectively a punishment for all classes. What do I mean by that? Uh, if you were a DPS, no matter how much parry you had, it went out of the window. So that's one thing. If you were a healer, it did not directly affect you, but rather it went and hurt you by killing all the other classes faster, so you couldn't keep up. And when you were left alone as a healer, well, yeah, good luck. And finally, for the tanks had a double issue. Both parry and block that they had was ignored, so nothing from there. And not only that, but it made any guard damage you were taking due to guarding a person that was being hit by a Slayer effectively also hit you 100%, regardless of the block and parry you had, meaning that you were taking effectively double damage. So let's say it was indiscriminate. On the current version, uh, the 20% strike through bonus effectively increases Slayer's damage almost uh, in the same matter for middle DPS, unless they build uh, parry percentages. Because, for example, if let's say middle DPS with 800 plus weapon skill builds for uh, the parry 4 points in the renown tree, this means that they can reach up to 40 something percent, minus 20 by rampage, and minus 10 from strike through. It's around 10%, give or take. So on the middle DPS, it wasn't that big of a nerf. On the tanks, on the other hand, now they can both block and parry the Slayers because they have around 60 to 50 to 70%, let's say, give it a window of defenses. And they no longer take unmitigated guard damage because their target is being targeted by a Slayer. So, if anything, it was a huge nerf against Destro tanks. Healers, because they can now focus not so much on saving both tanks and DPS, but mostly on their DPS. So, because I've been discussing it also with a lot of guildies, and
Hold on a second. I'm getting some lag.
the skill itself, it's not just the numerical value. We see first of all that it no longer drops your raids. I think it's is it called raids? Basically, they don't need to then climb back to red. Now they can instead go red and go ham with the rampage. That's another change. A third change is that no longer requires a global cooldown, so you could, in short term, fit more DPS because you can pop it off rotations and keep on stream has crashed, I can kind of see it.
Give me a second. I'm trying to get it back on.
Mhm. I see it. I see it. Also, it's buffering. It says. Hmm.
Yeah, I got just a massive lag spike.
Hmm.
This is all right, Chad. I think I got it fixed. Is a massive spike.
Hmm. Are we up on the air? Both.
I'm looking to make sure everything's rolling. Say something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Perfect.
We're live again. I am sorry about that, guys. Once in a while, my net does nosedive. It just completely cut out.
It's fine. We managed to restore it fast enough, I believe.
Yeah, just lost a lot of people like that.
Ah. Oof. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it
Hope we'll be
happens.
back.
It'll take a minute for it to restart.
Hmm. So, as I was saying, to recap the last few things that might have gotten cut off during the outage, or yeah, the loss of the stream. Basically, the big difference of old rampers versus new or current rampage is the lack of damage towards Destro tanks, which before were melting, regardless of how many protections they had. So, what this means for the current meta is, as you say, choppa, blobmans, or warbands are unstoppable because now Destro healers have to focus on half the targets while their melee blob runs past you, and Slayers can no longer DPS them down as they come. Which makes sense with the stances, as we said. So this is problematic again for the reason that Sopas have also been buffed significantly in their damage, although I expect that to change soon. Uh, and you were asking before how if you think this situation is okay or how should it change, right? So in my eyes, what I wrote also in the chat is that the reason why choppa mid waves, let's say, are unstoppable is because at the moment, in Return of Reckoning, there is no, let's say, diminishing returns in stacking middle DPS. For example, uh, you could get 10 middle DPS hitting the same tank without any damage penalty to their damage. While if you want to keep the same tank alive to be your front line, 8 healers from warband is the max you can get. If you're lucky, maybe some unintentional healing from a warrior priest doing the AoE heal he has, and that's it. So if they stack more DPS than your healers can effectively mitigate, then that person, tank, DPS, anything is dead. Meaning that in large fights where we see not only like 8 DPS but 20 DPS, it's getting pretty hopeless. Everything starts melting, as you were saying. This can change, and apparently, according to the opinion of some people in the balancing team, or I think that's how they call it, they are gonna change because they're in favor of doing something similar to a debuff, also applicable into regular RVR, which means that instead of having to mitigate 20 choppas, you'll effectively have to mitigate something along lines of 10, which should be doable in the context of a single warband. Until then, however, unless something is balanced, Order is having an issue, and we're all seeing it. Not just because they're weaker, but because people have gone from a period of 2+ years, even more, I believe, please correct me in that, of Rampage essentially supporting the whole defense they had, both in keeps and in RVR.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. It's been going for years. Order's always relied on the Slayer Rampage to basically punch through Destro, and it's basically been Order's go to counter Destro's melee blob, and now that they don't have it, Order doesn't know what to do because we don't have anything effective that can touch that melee choppa blob. At least not at the moment. And
not at the moment. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it may change, but for the moment, Destro is ruling the roost. And there's a lot of Destro that's come in and said, well, Order had it coming, or some stuff to that effect, or that well, Order did this years ago. I'm not worried about years ago. I'm worried about the stability of the game right now. This is not a good thing. I'm not saying nerf the choppa. Look at what
choppa
he did.
Is just the edge of the problem.
If
you nerf the choppa, they will just fit another class.
That's the thing. Don't just wildly swing the nerf bat. Stop and look and make adjustments, sure, but realistic that stabilize things, not end it. And that's what's happened. Is this is upended things. I do not want to see it to where Order is running over Destro or Destro running over Order. I want to see solid fights. You're not getting that right now.
Yeah, it's horrible. At the moment, I'm also in RVR, and we like there's just warbands farming the workers, and as a 6-man, right now we are either like staring at the void, running around, or we're facing a warband that came out of the keep to kill us because, hey, it's not a warband to face, so let's kill them.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I get it. Some people in game were like, well, this is revenge for what Order did to us early on the server. So you're gonna be petty to just to turn around and be vindictive. I'm like, where does this? Like, it doesn't get us anywhere. This is not productive for the server.
It's not. Like, if you ask me, Rampage deserved it, but Order did not. Order suffered because of Rampage, because anyone that wasn't a Slayer had a disadvantage. In warbands, in scenarios, they weren't exactly unwanted, but they weren't having the best of time. Like, why am I playing this when I could be playing Slayer and enjoying my time, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't just the Destro hurting, it was the overall class balance. So,
When the ad's over, I got something to add, please.
oh, welcome
Ad
back in.
hasn't started yet. It will in a minute.
Well, I can't, I can't help but wonder about the timing of this too. I mean, we had the big streaming day. The four hottest streamers in France streamed the game. We got a lot of new people. Techno told me there were over 1,000 downloads of the patcher. We get some new players in the game, and bam, choppers are
So,
in God mode now. And
let me correct you in that, not on the Slayers, but in general, because this, I do not have knowledge. Let's say I cannot be sure, but here's like my observations as a player. Every week prior to the 1st of January, let's say in the period before the new ability system was implemented and until the start of the new year, we were seeing on the bug tracker constant bug fixes in preparation for the new update, and of course ironing out the bugs that popped up when the update happened. So from January 4th or something, we suddenly started seeing a drop off in the numbers of bugs fixed. And wouldn't you know it, in the end of its week since then, we are seeing
Ad
also
break.
a balance.
Hold up. Ad break. It just hit.
Thanks a lot for interrupting. But yeah, basically what I'm gonna say is that Dallin has been working on it for 2 weeks to implement the new changes. It's not that they were cooked up the day before. It was probably an
oh no,
unfortunate coincidence.
I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that
No, I'm just gonna
the
explain it to people
changes
because
were.
they might not know.
Yeah, I just
But
think with that many new players potentially coming in,
mhm,
the timing might be a little, well, a little inappropriate, maybe.
that's true. We've also had quite a lot of new players in the guild.
Which
And
is
yeah,
a good thing. I mean, I'm
this is
happy
a
to
good thing, yeah.
see the new players. I just want them to stay, but at the same time, the change. And I, as I was telling people earlier in the stream, you know, just because we see one change now does not mean it's gonna stay that way. But people are free to comment on it, and I'll pass it. It'll go to the devs because I will send this to the devs just as I
Mhm.
always do with the others. And
At least, as you were saying, it should not
we're
break
back.
the game until it's fixed. Because at the
We're back.
moment, what we're seeing. Oh, so, to continue from where I left off, uh, basically every week since the start of the new year, we've been having balance updates, either big ones or smaller ones in some cases. And each time you could see that which meant that in order to implement the new balance changes, they had to allocate most of their time there to fix them, to implement them instead of fixing bugs. Which means that this change has had been cooking, let's say, for a longer period than a week or so. I'd imagine more so 2 weeks plus. Uh, which in my eyes, it makes it more like an unfortunate coincidence that, for
But
example, a lot of new players might have rolled Slayer, and right now, oh, Slayers are nerfed. And they don't know what this means yet because they're in tier 1 or tier 2, but they're hearing negative things about their class of choice, for example.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't trying to imply that uh, this was some nefarious plot
Mhm.
and intentional. I just thought that the timing,
Yeah,
given another influx of new players, that it's just poor timing. You know.
and I'll be the first one to admit that the current balance state is probably not exactly stable, let's say, but is worse than the previous one if you were to leave it like that for a month. That, let's say, for example, what is going on right now, it does not look nice, does not play nice for either faction. And I believe we're better off in the previous state compared to what we have now. And uh, some of you may also have noticed that it's being planned that instead of continuing the balance paths, let's say, train we've had for the past month on its Friday or on its second Friday, for example, they plan on taking their time to fix the many bugs that have actually gathered up since the new ability system came up, which means that we might have to sit on the current balancing for an extended period of time, maybe a month, who knows.
Yeah,
Which, as we all can see, might not be sustainable for one reason or
yeah.
another.
I can touch on that. It was mentioned earlier. Apparently, Gravord had said something on his stream that they've already confirmed to do that. That they're gonna halt with what any further until they have a chance to get the bugs caught up, and so they don't get even further behind, which makes sense. But
It makes sense.
if things stay as they are right now for the time being, you're gonna have Destro just rolling order left and right. So order's gonna have to figure a new way to do things, and a lot of the proposals I'm hearing is people talking about going back to a range heavy and just do like tanks and range, and he heals.
Yeah.
And then there was a large the other idea, and this is equally not fun. A lot of people are just said if this continues, then we'll just start sitting in keeps and waiting it out. Force them to have to see siege, no matter how long it drags out.
Yeah. Which no one likes. Both those waiting and those getting bored
Yeah,
waiting to sit. At the very least, if they manage to fix the bugs on the ID, the Inevitable Doom skill of the Ironbreaker, that's gonna alleviate a bit the Slayer problem. Because, to my knowledge, there are like at least 2 bugs at the moment on ID, making Slayer a lot uh, less powerful than they used to be. But in any case, as I was saying before, I'm not sure what is the proper solution. Do you buff Slayer? Do you counter buff Slayer temporarily to offset it? Do you leave it and hope that the players manage to adjust? I'm not sure what's the proper action here, and I'm not even sure which is the action that the balance team will take.
that's also true.
Because I believe you mentioned before, uh, like you were discussing that maybe the balance team is not necessarily biased, but uh,
They're letting personal feelings enter
mhm,
into the equation rather than making judgments solely based on what the classes need.
yep.
And
So
that's a mistake anyone can make. But yes, I do feel that. I think that some of the decisions they might not necessarily want to admit it or even think that they're doing it. They might think that they're legitimately making the right call, but if you look at what's going on, it certainly bears out that the decisions that are being made to specifically gut certain classes to where they won't stand in their way.
yeah, like here's the thing. Uh, this is common knowledge for people in the RoR Discord, but maybe not in the forums because there hasn't been any public statement. But Apparently, the balancing team is comprised of uh, 3 players that are spearheading and discussing the changes, and one head dev above them, uh, approving and implementing the changes. We know 2 of the 3 players that are discussing and managing the proposals, but we do not know the third. And
Yeah.
in a sense, that's fine because you must also have noticed that the 2 players that came out and said that, hey, I'm part of the balance team, have been getting constant attention and constant flaming both in Discord and forums.
Yeah, which is why I won't. I I discourage that. I mean, right or wrong, they don't go attacking people. They're volunteering the same way I volunteer to help the devs.
And what's more surprising to me is that uh, one person that is mainly an order player, though one of the 2 that are known to us in the balancing team, was getting constant flack for like not understanding or not playing the classes to uh, to propose those changes without even knowing if he proposed them or not, which makes me think that it would be good to know at least, even if we don't know exactly who's in the balancing committee, which classes they play regularly or what are their mains. While this is not like a foolproof plan of not being biased, for example, that yeah, we have a main for every class in the team so we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
At
that
least
that
it gives
that's
some more
that
credibility, let's say, to the
yeah,
decisions.
that's something I agree
Because
with.
yeah,
There should be at least one person of every class type that knows the class in and out.
Yeah,
They
they
can
tried
make
that. They tried.
or
They tried that. They tried that with the Realm Champion program, and that was one of the most disastrous programs
yeah,
ever introduced.
remember it. You'd have to find a way to get people to be able to do it that would not let their personal ambitions come into the equation. That's the problem.
mm,
That's part of the issue is that every time it boils down to, okay, well, they did this, so I'm gonna, now that I have a chance, I'm gonna hurt everyone else so it benefits me.
the good thing is that the current balance team, at least it's small. They themselves have expressed that having more in the team would make voting on decisions and proposals a lot harder because of having to, well, not unanimously, but at least have a majority on the votes.
Yeah. Well, then the thing I would say there, and is they need to be more open to people's ideas and suggestions because there's been plenty of times where feedback's been given and then some of those people on the balance team are quick to shut people down. That shouldn't be a thing, and that's something that needs to be looked at. I get, you might know classes and stuff, but here's the thing: while you may have been playing certain classes or one class for a long time, there's gonna be people that come along eventually that might see something from a different viewpoint. Take that into consideration. Don't just dismiss it. And it might prove ultimately not a sound theory, but at least listen. Don't just discard and ignore people. And I know that's what's been done, and that needs to stop because that's detrimental.
Well, there's always there's always going to be a little bit of proprietary interest
Mhm.
in those who are making balance changes. It's just that's just part of human nature. You're never going to get in any endeavor like this. You're never going to get a group of people who are completely unbiased or non-biased.
True.
Bias always creeps in at some level. That the trick, I think, is to have uh, just enough people that can get along with each other, to have rational discussions, and not and not feel like there's one guy on the team that everybody has to answer to. Because if you set up a balanced team where certain members feel like they have to answer to one other guy, it's not much of a balanced team. It's just one guy who's got the maximum, the ultimate say, and that's it.
Like at the moment, we haven't had, let's say, a confirmation of what exactly happens inside the balancing team. We know how many people there are. We know that there's like discussion for the proposals and stuff, but we don't know the specifics. And I believe like clarity and at the very least communication is what we need. They've
Yeah.
expressed a few things of like they want maybe to do a Twitch stream to explain reasonings and discuss stuff, but we haven't heard anything from the part of the actual developer saying that yeah, this is legit, this will happen, or anything. The balance team itself is more like an abstract concept at the moment. They're not devs. They don't have a specific role, for example, both in
Yeah.
gaming or in this group.
It's the
It's
same.
just
It's the
something
same.
that exists.
Yeah. It's the same way I'm part of the PVE group. I help with that end of it. I'm not going to go into details because I can't because I'm under an agreement. But it's the same thing. We're there to offer advice and stuff. But with me, I have the benefit with my streaming. I ask questions and I pull ideas from both sides of the community. And often when I'm on Destro, I'll pay attention to what Destro says and be like, okay, let me jot that down. So even though I play order main, does that mean I discard everything Destro says? No, any more than what I do with order. When I'm playing the game in game, yeah, I'm all about order. But when it comes to doing what the server needs done, I do what I hope that is in the interest of fair play, and hopefully will work out for both sides.
Well, I think I have to agree, and at the moment I don't remember which of you made the point, but I have to agree that I do believe there needs to be a bit more, either you want to call it transparency or a bit more open communication, because the question I often have, and I'll give you a specific example. This is a specific example of what I'm talking about. I have long been of the opinion that certain range classes do not need a disarm. It makes absolutely no sense. Sorks, Maguses, Bright Wizards, to give those classes a disarm is just anathema to what the class is supposed to be about. In that every class is supposed to have a strength and every class is supposed to have an inherent weakness. And with a range class like a Sork or a Magus, or even a Bright Wizard, that weakness should manifest itself when the melee classes get to them. But no. You fight your way to the Sork and you're immediately disarmed, or a Magus and you're immediately disarmed. And now, as opposed to addressing that issue, in one of the most recent patches, they took the Magus disarm and increased it by a full second. So whatever it was, 3 seconds is now 4, or if it was 4 seconds, it's now 5.
I think it's 5.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
That's just ridiculous. All right. And the question I have is why? Okay. Why did you make that change, and how do you justify that change? Who is it you're trying to make happy? By taking a range class and giving them, increasing a tool to make them more impervious to what's going on around them. And it would be nice to be able to ask that question and get some sort of response other than I'm better than you. And
Mhm. In this specific case, for example, it was on the January 10th patch, which was all about equalization both in AoE snares and in not disarms exactly, but some forms of CC. So the argument, like from what I'm seeing, is that they try to make every single disarm from every single range class be 4 seconds, for example. And not that Magus needed more protection versus melee. The issue is that if in the end, when the actual DPS rebalancing happens, which is not yet to come out, what we've seen so far, mainly in Marauder, Choppa, and of course Slayer, has been not rebalancing fully, rather, let's say, immediate changes that needed to be changed. At least that's what the argument has been so far. We've seen probably most of the tank changes that are coming first, but then follow the healers and then finally the DPS, which we haven't seen them. So what I'm saying is, I'm not sure, as you were saying, if that buffing the disarm, for example, in the Magus, means that the disarm will stay on the class after the actual rebalancing has happened. Because from my understanding of it, they plan to actually change a lot of identities in classes. Not necessarily key aspects of them, but for example, in some not so frequently used specs, for example, DPS healers, those the plan for those has been stated to be that they will find a spot in the warbands, meaning that they'll have to undergo severe changes, which we don't know yet what they are, and they might still be a bit in the future, ahead in the future. So, in general, there is like confusion. I would say it like that. There is confusion. We don't know if changes are needed as balance, or as urgent, as part of the class identity that needs to change, or as countermeasure to not, let's say, break the game too much. We do not know yet, and there has been no communication, neither from the balance team, because they're probably either not allowed to say or not comfortable arguing in a Discord chat in the mess that it can be when I'm regulated.
Well, I can understand that, but there are other avenues of approach besides the Discord chat. This being one of
I would
them.
hope so. I would hope they would like not exactly come open, but they would be more vocal about the changes happening.
Well,
Because-
that's something I will go to bat with then. Is I'll reach out to the staff and see if I can arrange something where the balance team can come on and talk with us on the podcast, and that way we can have some clarity, so there isn't so much chaos. Very same reason why I kept pushing to get Max and them to come on was to have more communication. So that needs to happen now with that. And I mean, I'm not blind to the fact some things won't get said just simply because they don't want to say everything, but some information could be shared, at least enough to kind of explain, hey, this is kind of what our thought process is, and maybe get some positive, some actual feedback in a controlled environment, so to speak, and it work out for all parties. So what do you guys think, and what do you guys in chat think? Is this something you want me to try and push? Ad break.
Yeah, I wish they'd do that. Like, and probably I should not say it publicly, but rather, why hasn't it happened yet? Was it that the devs were lazy, or was it that someone was like stopping them? Say no, don't discuss, don't come out in the open. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if I want to know. But yeah.
What happened?
Outbreak.
No, I'm sorry. I was talking to my son.
Oh.
He went and got the vacuum cleaner and actually plugged it in and was vacuuming, and I thought that's not right. You know, that can't be right. So he was just cleaning up his bedroom. I had tacos for breakfast.
And we're back. But how would you guys in chat feel? I mean, is that something you'd like to see me try and push as an idea? Get the balance team to come on the show and have a discussion. Would you guys share their thoughts on things and hear, have a meaningful discussion, not a rant from anyone, because I'll be quick to toss people out of here.
No, I think. Let me make a point about that, please. Sorry, let me make a point about that, please. I think if members of the dev team or somebody came on, one assurance you could make is that the most offensive question that would be asked, if you even want to call it an offensive question, is just simply why. Okay, you did this, why? That's the question that I have most often is just, okay, why? What's the justification? And if they have a reason, then I'll be fine with it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I see what you're talking about, blah, blah. That's the power of having a dialogue is, okay, why did you put a timer on pounce on a white lion when they're in loner spec? Why did you take that away from loner spec? Why did you do that? Okay, if somebody's got an answer,
Yeah.
then I would stop worrying about it, right? And so,
Slight interruption, Karis, if you'll read uh, chat in stream there. Emissary just posted something. Apparently, it's come across the wire concerning the infiltration.
Oh yeah.
okay. Yeah, emissary says the fact you cannot attack back during an infiltration event is a bug. They're looking at how to fix it. All right. See, there you go. That's all it takes. If it's a bug, okay, I can live with that. Okay, fine, good, great. I can understand that because the server has had bugs before. The server will have bugs again.
Yeah.
All hail the Everqueen. I mean, it's that's an answer to the question, and so that's fine. Okay, I can dig it, right?
It's the simple fact that an answer to the why goes a long way towards at least settling the confusion, because when you leave people in doubt and you don't answer, they're like, okay, well, do they care? Do they not care? What's going on? And it also, those people that have been volunteering to help fix these issues or reporting these bugs are like, well, why should I bother if they're not going to respond to at least tell me, hey, is what I'm doing worthwhile to you? I mean, is it helping you address things? So there needs to be more communication out of them. So I'll go to bat with this, and I'll send it up the chain and see what I can do.
Emissary says, by the way, I am a CM now. CM, that stands for cow moocher, I think, doesn't it?
You're one of two. You're one of two new CMs then, Emissary, because I'm aware of the other one.
The name eludes me, but yeah, I also noticed a museum. And apparently the guild roster has not been updated in the actual website in quite some time. I was like trying to figure out if what's going on when I was seeing all names that are there or
Yeah.
new names that are not there.
Well, I'll go ahead and bump you up to mod same way I did Hazme and Techno, and I'll tell you the same thing I told them. If you need to make announcements or get stuff out to the community, and I happen to be streaming, just give me a quick heads up, and you can come in and make the announcement because a lot of people tend to watch the streams faster than they look at the full forums.
Well, I was just making a joke with the cow moocher thing. I was, emissary was, or I think still is in Smash, and Smash is the guild Smash now is just a shadow of its former shadow at this point. But which is a shame. But anyway, if he's on the CM team, that's cool. Um, maybe he can put some armor potions in the guild vault.
Yeah,
Did you hear that, emissary?
everybody wake up on the server one morning with a million gold. Yeah, I can see that happening right as the powers that be are like, what the?
I'd have
Like
to
in
ask.
my eyes, first of all, congratulations, Emissary, for the position, and second of all, I'm pretty happy to see more community managers on the team because, and don't take it like as a personal insult or something, but to my eyes, like ever since coming back around more than half a year ago, the community management has been mostly on maintenance mode, not so much, let's say, proactive, more so announcements and keeping guidelines. And I'm glad to see more players come in because there's so much more that could be done there in my eyes.
Well, I will say this, um, without I don't think I'm crossing any lines here by saying this, but given that my own son, is a member of the community management team, and I pay for his place to live, for his food, for his clothes, all that cool stuff. Every now and then, he tells me a little bit about what's going on. Um, and one thing I can say is that the team, the various like the community management team, and most of the devs that they talk to, when he's on talking to them, they all seem like they get along really well.
Mhm.
I've yet to walk past his room or be doing anything and hear what sounds like an argument. They all seem to, just they get
Get
on and
along.
do their bit, and they all get along, and which is good. I would just reiterate that, the more of that information, like emissary shared a few moments ago, the more of that kind of stuff can be fed to the rest of the server, the better I think we will all be. So there. This is
True,
NPR.
true.
Mm.
Slight interruption. Draft man, what are you referring to by but order never said? What are you getting at? I mean, is it something to do with the conversation or?
Yeah, I'm not quite. I saw when that went in, but I'm not quite sure what he was
I'm
Me
talking
neither.
about either.
asking. I'm curious.
Oh, emissaries in Chick-fil-A. Oh, I just. Um, I like Chick-fil-A. I think they have good sandwiches.
Yeah, they do. Okay, well, with Draftman answers, we'll address it then. But uh, aside from what's been discussed on that topic so far, anything else on it before we move on?
Well, it seems like there was one more thing
Then
that I was going to bring
fire
up, and now,
away.
yeah, but I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble resurrecting it. Uh, because it wasn't, it wasn't that. It was just like an ancillary detail, something I was curious about. And I can't bring it up. I can't remember.
Alright, we'll
Um,
address that in a minute. I do have one question that was sent to me earlier. Hold on, let me put somebody on follow while I read it. One of the guys, Yaga sent it earlier. I can't make it to the podcast today, but maybe you can ask them why, when you pull off a near impossible and basically the taunt interrupt of a Mara pull, why is there no cooldown when there's a cooldown on the taunt? And even I'm forced to agree there should be some kind of downside to it. They shouldn't just be able to constantly pull again.
I didn't know there wasn't a cooldown on Marauder Pull. I always thought there was.
I don't know since I
No,
don't play a Marauder, so
Well, neither
I'm
do I. I don't.
opening the floor to those that might know. But that's the question that was brought up.
I believe what they're saying is that if you manage to cancel the ability, either as a marauder yourself or as a enemy player taunting the marauder and disrupting, not disrupting, stopping the activation of the ability, it doesn't go on cooldown. I believe that's what they're saying.
But
As an
naturally, there
ex-marauder
is.
main, I've never been in that situation, at least that I could tell. But I do think that if you yourself cancel it, it does not go on a cooldown, either by jumping or something
Emissary
similar.
answered it in chat if
Okay.
one of you wants to read it.
So normally, what he's saying is normally there is a cooldown on Marauder Pull, but if it's interrupted, the cooldown doesn't kick in. That's what I see Emissary saying here.
In my eyes, this falls in the category of like small adjustments that need to be made, because it's not just that could potentially be what the intended effect of the ability is, but they just didn't have the time to get to it at the moment. If one takes like a closer look to the bug tracker, we'll see that there's around 500 bugs active since the new ability update on December 9th that have not been fixed. It's probably not 500 individual ones, or all are valid, but it should indicate that we have a lot of, let's say, minor details that are off.
Yeah,
So maybe this could also be one of them, but at least, I'm not familiar enough with it to remember if it's on the bug tracker or if it was somewhere stated that it should not be that way.
All right, I'm going to toss out one more thing. And again, this is just, a minor point, but I've said this for a long time now. I think white line pounds needs to be restored to 65 feet. I think that would balance
When was
some of
that
the.
65 feet?
It's at 45 feet now.
Yeah, when was that
Oh,
65 feet that you
65.
mentioned
That was a
restored?
few years. That's been a few years.
Hmm.
When I first created my white line, that's what it was. But I think I remember a time. Maybe it was on the live version or way early here, but I seem to recall white line pounds at one time actually being 100 feet, and that was a good way to get to um, even at 65 feet. That's a good counter to all the disarming megases and all that crap that um, as a closer. And I just think being at 65 feet would be, when you talk about abilities like a Magus pull or a chopper pull, um, all the abilities that are able to be cast on the move. It's just it's just helps to balance that equation. And why, you know, why white line pounce kept getting reduced is another one of those questions that I could never get an answer to. And eventually what happens in those situations is if you ask a question, okay, why did you reduce white line pounds? If you can never get an answer, then typically the answer you come up with in your mind, whether it's right or not, is that, okay, somebody complained on the destro side, somebody that, they didn't want to piss off, and,
Which
oh yeah, right. So anyway, I advocate that white line pounds go back to 65 feet. I have spoken.
Like, I'm also a Millisquick herder main, so I can feel your pain. And it kind of also ties to what we were saying before. Like, it's been, I'm not sure if it's been stated by the member of the balance team on Discord, but they were at the very least positive to the idea of extending the extra movement speed duration, because at the moment, as you might know, it gives you a small movement boost for 3 seconds, but due to how the ability is coded, you're like flying on the air for like 1 or 1.5 seconds. So the actual effect of the ability is reduced, or it's not as intended. And
Well,
from what I
well,
remember,
typically, yeah, I'm sorry, but yes, typically what happens is you hit pounce.
Mhm.
It for the duration of your global cooldown is pretty much the time you spend in the air.
Exactly.
And so as soon as you hit, you use an ability, which means you never really get the speed bonus. Because
Mhm.
as soon as you use an ability, the speed bonus breaks anyhow. And so the speed bonus might as well not even be attached. And I've kind of argued for the fact that if you successfully use pounce, it should apply a snare. Like almost every ability that a chamois has applies a snare, or a squig herder applies a snare of some kind. If you use pounce against somebody, it should apply a temporary snare to your target. Because pounce, as everybody knows, pounce doesn't take you to where your enemy is. It
Where they
takes you
were,
to where
yeah,
it takes you to where they were
when you
at the
pressed it.
time that you hit it. And you can watch pounce when you use it. You can watch it. You'll be flying through the air, and all of a sudden you'll come up against an invisible wall, and drop straight down. And by that time, if you're trying to pounce on a chamois or a squig herder, they're out of range in just the time it took you to fly through the air. So
Well,
I think pounce is
I agree.
yeah, okay.
To not derail this, like I believe, like I hope we will eventually manage to get to the point where these things can not only like be solved very fast because we don't have either huge balance changes being implemented or so many bugs piling up, but at the point where we can both like discuss those things in a more open format with members of the balance team
Yeah.
or some part of the dev base, but also where we can both get answers to why things are as they are and where they can like get fixed decently soon with all the constraints that there are. I really hope so. Not for this ability in specific, but for so many little details. Like every class has a few like weird things that they can justify a reason for being there, other than it's always been there or no one cared enough to question it. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I agree.
I think that
I agree.
hopefully answers Yaba's question, but again, this all get forward to the devs. And now, I would like to open it up more to the you guys in chat if you guys have got questions or topics you want to throw at us, fire away. I do encourage you guys to share your thoughts. I mean, chat was really active a couple hours ago. You guys were having a full on like debate on a lot of stuff.
All right, buddy. I gotta go do a couple things. I appreciate you having me on again.
No, not a problem. If I don't get any responses, I'm gonna be wrapping up here in about 5 minutes. Give or take.
And
At least with the
only
podcast.
I was glad to see you came in when I had to leave to take my son to work. I was glad somebody came in to.
Not a problem, guys. The floor's always open to anyone to come in and have meaningful talks and stuff. You guys should know that about me. Bye now.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, later, Karis.
And if I may also add one more thing, Toth, like
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad that, like for example, the current event is like helpful, not only for new players that are finding some increased interest in learning about the game through other streamers, but it's also giving up a big platform to all the streamers to speak to new players or even old players that don't usually frequent podcasts or other similar sources of news for the game. And even if someone like disagrees completely with what's being told here, at least they get to hear it, because from my experience, being limited to your, let's say, in-game company or your guild or whatever that may be, can actually polarize you very, very much so, depending on what you're hearing. Like, I would not be surprised if people unfamiliar with
ad break.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
It's fine.
But yeah, like I'm glad they did this week, because like we have right now 150 people online. That's important for people to like hear different stuff, even if they completely disagree with me or with what's being told here.
Yeah, well, that's why I encourage people to come on the show and share their thoughts, because the end of it ain't about me. It's about getting their thoughts to the devs so they can hear what's on the community's mind. Which
before also sorry for not talking so coherently this time. I was also trying to lead our 6-man in the guild, but it's all over the place.
Fine. I'm running in a warband and I'm all over the place. But if chat doesn't have any more questions or topics to bring to the table, guys, I'm gonna wind things down as far as the podcast goes and continue with the streaming, and I'll edit and send out the segment of the podcast to the devs later tonight. Again, guys, the floor is always open to you guys in the community. If you have ideas, discussion topics